say hello to our virtual audience also. They're coming in via Vimeo. And of course, our in-person audience here in New York City. We are actually in a wonderful room with lots of flowers, as the venue is very close to the flower district in New York. And they put out very nice flowers for you, esteemed guests. We have a program where myself and my team take great care to really optimize knowledge sharing and networking for the brand marketing community. It starts with the seating order, and there are some additional executives coming in a moment. But then it also continues with the sessions. We'll be looking at one topic which is very much about measuring consumer touch points and integrating them into sort of a dashboard. You know, the media world is more fragmented than ever. Retail media, experiential, digital, walled gardens. So it's very interesting for our audience here and also for the ones who are logging in to learn more about that bridge between experiential and particularly and the rest of marketing initiatives. Then we'll go over to healthcare marketing in multicultural America. Very important topic, and it's also a topic that, by the way, those who are watching from Latin America, I think should be interested in, because this is very much about how Latin Americans who come to this country are catered for, and it's also very much also about purpose in marketing, and we'll hear more about that then. Then we have what we call a fun VIP lunch, and at the same time we'll have virtual meetings with our virtual brand marketers logging in. These meetings are between brand marketers and other brand marketers, and between service providers and brand marketers and media agencies. After that, we'll have a session about culture, technology, and creativity, about how to best meld and mix those. Finally, one more session on brand growth opportunities, where we will look at how the alcoholic beverage category, represented by Diageo, and the insurance, the mortgage market, are tapping into growth, particularly by looking at how multicultural America is and how these consumer needs can be satisfied in 2024. Then we'll have a coffee break, and again, virtual one-on-one meetings, the virtual audience, and then we have customized workshops, 5 different ones where I am, as a lover of content, I always love these interactions because they usually provide a lot of value. And then obviously the in-person audience is gonna do a happy hour. Thank you so much to our premium partners, Illumin, Numatech, Latcom, Think Now, Sun Media, Relevant, and Digo. Finally, if any of you guys have questions, lift your hand, and someone in our team will come in and hand you a mic over. If you can please identify who you are and then ask the questions. Similarly, we will also get questions from Vimeo, from the virtual attendees. Thank you very much also to my team, our accounts director, Irma Gutierrez, our brand relationship manager, who actually many of you probably know, Celeste Martorana. She's expecting a child this week, a baby. And then Anaid Munoz, our speaker coordinator, Jorge, who is Jurado, who's our editor, and many others. So they're really thankful for them, because it is actually quite difficult to put together these highly curated events, and we thank you for your support. Now I'd like to pass you on to Seraj Barbani, who's the Chief Strategy Officer at Acuity Ads. I think he's an icon in the industry. I think also, well, I know that he was one of the co-founders of Digitas, which is an agency we all know. And he has a lot of experience in entrepreneurship in the ad tech sector, and he's going to introduce the next session.
All righty.
Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcos. Hello. How is everybody? Yeah, doing okay this morning? Mm-hmm. Nice to see you. This is such a beautiful event. I love it. I look forward to coming here every year. It's fantastic. This is like, ever since Marcos brought us in, I tell you, I can't thank him enough. And Leslie for introducing us to the whole broad world of multicultural marketing. I think of you as family. You're so supportive, you're so cooperative. I've always learned from you every time I come here. We really look forward to having this forum, and in particular with the people I have with me. Gabby, please come forward. Sit right here at the center. I want you to have this thing, see if this thing works. This is number 3 mic, by the way, guys. Is it working, hopefully? Okay. Yes. Excellent, good. It's working, right? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to have Gabby introduce herself, and I have Mike with me. So Gabby, go ahead. Talk about yourself. Who are you? What do you represent? And the things you've accomplished here.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Gabby Neves, or I think most of you can say my name properly, so I'll say Gabriela Neves. I call myself Gabby because other Gabbies here might know it's awful to hear people say my name wrong. To the point where with American Airlines, when I call and they say, what's your name? And I say, Gabriela Neves, they're like, what's your name? You know, the automated. So I literally have to say, Gabriela Neves, and then I get through the call. But I'm with Factory 360. I own the agency. We're an experiential marketing agency. We are global in reach. We handle everything from B2B and B2C. So from a B2B perspective, conferences, trade shows, conventions, really all things customer driven, including sales incentive trips. And then on the B2C side, we do sponsorship activations, retail programs, mobile tours, PR stunts, all the things. And I think what I was most excited to be here with you is, and we met at an event, which is interesting, is because we started the agency really seeing the future being experience first, right? It's the best way, in my opinion, of how you can engage with a consumer or customer and really drive the message about your product or service. But what's happening is obviously an evolution of what we can do from a technology perspective. And that's where we've really gotten to do some really exciting things, and we're gonna take you through that today. So that's who I am. Been in this industry now almost 2 decades. And really excited to take you through a little bit more about how we work together and one particular case study.
Perfect. Thank you. So then I have my colleague, Mike.
Yeah, nice to meet everyone. Mike Stanczak, Vice President of Platforms here at Illumin. So very short and sweet for me.
So generally when we talk about things, when we come here, you will see some nice, beautiful sizzle reel, the video plays, everybody gets excited. And then we have a nice, beautiful conversation and all of that. No, we're not starting with a sizzle reel of any sort. Today, the people who we have with us are the sizzle reel. They are the real people. They are the ones who have accomplished some of the big things. And on top of it, we're going to give you a glimpse of the actual work. You can see it in platform. You can measure it. You know that, right? Everybody who invests any money in media of any sort or marketing always wants a return of some sort. Where's the evidence? And so that's what we're going to focus on. All right, so Marcos started this thing. We've been talking about fragmentation in marketing and media and attention forever. Today we won't. Today we will talk the opposite of it. How are we fusing media? The idea of bringing physical interactions and digital interactions and continuing that whole linkage and the relationship, so to speak, the journey. How does all that come together? Let's go with that, Gabby.
Yeah, and before.
How did you get into this whole thing about experiential and digital?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, people would ask, what is it that you do? And it was mostly, family, friends, or people who don't know experiential. And we would say, anytime you touch, taste, or feel a product or service. And that became illegal during COVID. So essentially, we could not do our job for a few years legally, nor did we want to be doing that. And so from that, and I don't like to give positivity to COVID at all, but there are some sort of, things that came out of it, which is usage of QR codes. I mean, that's a simple, just action item, which in experiential is huge, right? And even the acceptance of technology in terms of how we do things. So during COVID was really where, and now it's become common language, but hybrid events, right? Which is what we're doing today here. But pre-COVID, that really was not existent. It didn't, people really just wanted to be in person. So what that did is, that's where sort of our magic happens, because I make a joke, and some of you might not find this funny, but the only people who make commercials are the people who watch commercials are the people who make them. The reality is that the majority of us are looking to fast forward through it. I get personally very annoyed when I have to watch a commercial. But then there's certain moments, sports moments, which Super Bowl, even during hurricanes. I live in South Florida, so I'll be on the Weather Channel. I don't care. I'll watch any commercial. But there's, other than that, the real key driver, the beauty, the formula, where we sort of are, magic happens, is when you do experiential with digital. And it's integrating that and having that customer experience pre-event, during the event, and post-event. And so because COVID drove us to integrate technology, we can now have those experiences from a holistic omni-channel perspective.
Perfect, got it. It's always easy to talk about things when you have real stuff, real programs, real brands. Talk about some examples of how all of this happens.
So we integrate technology and digital from the inception. I'd say that's the main key. I think what we see a lot of times is organizations, agencies, we kind of are driven to develop things just from an experiential lens or a media lens or an advertising lens, and then you don't get to build an integrated program from the beginning because we're all working within those departments. And what we do is from inception develop integrated digital touch points. For instance, one of our clients is Grubhub. We've been working with them now for a few years. We did a concert for them in Los Angeles. We did the Grubhub Taco Bell concert. It was really fun. And we basically took over a Taco Bell parking lot and did an entire concert. You couldn't even tell it used to be a parking lot for 400 people. And I keep saying 400 people because any marketer pre-COVID would be like, this is not worth the ROI. I mean, you're touching 400 people, and that's, what's the cost per head, in terms of return on investment.
Yep.
And that's then, now we can say, okay, let's build in influencers. So we have an influencer programming pre-event. We have an RSVP microsite that we're engaging folks beforehand, getting them to data capture. Then at the event, we have user-generated content, and then post-event, we have a continued conversation. The same thing, another client, Santa Margarita Wines. This one is incredibly exciting because same thing. The difference with this one is that it was a multi-market tour, as opposed to Taco Bell is just one market, and we had a celebrity talent there. Santa Margarita has no talent. It was literally just come, wine and taste, have this amazing experience through a vineyard maze. And we had to get over 1,000 people to attend in each market. So how do you do that? Standalone event. And another thing I have is, if you build it, they won't come. You have to promote it. You can't expect people to just, I have nothing going on, I'm going to show up for this event because they have free wine. And that could happen, but you really do need to promote it and keep track of RSVPs. So, where we work really well is from promoting the event beforehand digitally, right? Because it's not enough. It's not street teams on the street. That's not getting the numbers. Where we're really driving amazing numbers is digitally paid and organic ads, and then social ads. And then on top of that, we can track who's RSVPing, who's on the site, and then able to track those folks post-program as well. And then on site, we have digital integration as well.
Okay, you got it, right? That's a lot of stuff to worry about all at the same time. A marketer who wants to consider this thing is like, what? All of this is stuff? Like, and for what? And how will we track all of this stuff? There's just a ton of questions.
Well, to your point, we don't do their magic, right? And that's where we come together.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. So that's really sort of the blend is. Mike, I'm going to come to you, okay? So you will find out how much $100 million in investment actually buys these days. That's what we did over the past 5 years to create what you see here. And by the way, our company name is not Acuity Ads anymore. We are Illumin. That's what we are called. We rebranded ourselves a year and a half ago, and that's what we are. As a company, as a platform, the whole thing. All right, let's show this thing on the screen, please.
Yeah, can we switch it over? Beautiful.
All right, are you guys able to see it? Okay, Mike, first of all, explain, what is this?
So what you're looking at, this is Illumin. It's a hot-wired digital canvas that allows you to plan all your different media touch points on one singular canvas. So the journey that we're talking about with Gabby for Santa Margarita Wines, that entire campaign from start to finish, from a digital perspective, is what you're seeing right here.
Okay, so let's talk about the individual components of that. Do I know you? I keep looking at you, right? Don't I know you? Yeah? Wasn't there
Now you do.
Wasn't there a time when you didn't have a beard or something?
That's right.
There you go. Exactly. The event is at the heart of it, right at the center of the experience. Correct? That's where the most engagement will actually happen. You'll come there, you'll taste the wine, you'll do all of that, you'll interact with people. All of that stuff will happen at the center of it, right? But to Gabby's point, how in the world do you get these people to come to the event? Which means you're going to have to do all of these different promotions of one sort or the other. You're going to want to test some of these things. All of that has to happen, and that's all digital environment. What are all these media types here?
Yeah, so you're looking at online video, streaming video, potentially maybe running some podcasts, streaming audio. So all of that is happening in the upper funnel, and we're collecting those audiences and then routing them through to that engagement stage.
Just to make sure that these people actually show up, right?
Yeah, and I think, you say events is at the core, because I think in our world, it's always like people feel like they need to be like media is the winner or digital. And the reality is pre us engaging and pre the dates where it was just Nielsen is all we had, right? And I remember being like, well, I can't. How we have an event, and I don't know how many of you do events, but it's like, we're never going to compete with Nielsen numbers, right? But now we're in the world where we can say, okay, we have these amazing experiential events on the ground, real person engagement, but then we have the millions in the digital space, right? So that's where it's really exciting, because now we can compete with the Nielsen's, and even more successfully because we have both in person and digital.
Got it. And you can be more precise, you can be more targetable, all of that stuff that actually goes with it. And frankly, it goes without saying, all multicultural dimensions built into here. You can target that in all the different ways you want to do that, okay? All right. The other things is, these components also include all of the other things, the Meta, the Facebook, so all of that stuff. It includes digital out of home, connect the whole thing with how? Device IDs, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So once the event, and what all the things are you using at the event to continue the journey beyond that?
Yeah, so It can be as simple as hashtags being present at the event. QR codes are also a great way to obviously engage folks to get to them to then, once they've engaged via QR code, they're on the digital. And then you incentivize, right? So it could be through sweepstakes or incentives, other ways to get folks to actually want to engage, to share, to create content. So those are the different ways that we engage on the ground.
Perfect.
And grabbing those emails and QR codes can be funneled back into the digital canvas to where we can then message them at the low part of the campaign.
Let's show
at
the
next
last
part.
tail end of that, where the engagement obviously continues post-event, right? And of course, all the influencer components are in there through the social channels and so forth. That's also going on. You see now, all of this is on the same canvas. And there is a thread behind the scenes through data that's connecting everything. Good so far? All right. So when this whole thing is live and the client says, I want to see how this is working, what should you look at? Explain to us what's here.
Yeah, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit, but this is called our audience engagement map. So if we zoom in, what we'll find is that the exact same screen and canvas that we've built for our digital and experiential activation now has live data populating it. Every 60 seconds, this refreshes, so we can see real-time movement through the journey.
Absolutely. How many people are watching this stuff? How many of those finally ended up here in the event? And eventually, how they continue through all the way. Are you good so far? What else would you like to know? Clients would actually want to know, what are the most productive pathways here? Remember? The media mix question that comes up all the time, right? Show us.
With 2 clicks of a button, we can tell you what that most optimal path is through the funnel.
This avoids 9 weeks of spreadsheet engineering at every 60 seconds. Okay. What are some of the advantages of these things, Gabby?
Yeah, I think it's real-time data, obviously. One thing that's great about experiential is that we can change things on the fly. Unlike a commercial, once you've done it, it's baked. It's like, oh, that's it. Experiential, from market to market, we can evolve. So from the first event, if we're getting more engagement from a community and we want more from another, from a target audience, we can switch up who we're targeting. And also, you talked about niche. So for instance, one of the things we saw, we didn't know which market was going to require more paid media than others. And we were in mostly tier 2 markets. So we were in Tulsa, which is a great city. If you haven't been, I was surprised. San Jose, California, upstate New York. I think it was Buffalo. I was going to say, I can't remember what city, but it was Buffalo. And then we did do New York City. And we did in Grand Central. I don't know if anyone happened to get to see this activation, but we were in Grand Central. And then we culminated at the Miami Art Basel at the opening party at the Perez Museum. But the reason I'm mentioning the markets, because they're very different. And part of it was, okay, let's spend money to get the RSVPs. So for instance, if we needed 750 people to come in a market, we knew we had to get at least 1,500 RSVPs, knowing that we were going to get a 50% drop rate in attendance, people showing up. And so what we did is we started spending in all the markets, and we realized, and it was actually contrary to what we thought was going to happen, New York actually was the first to get the RSVP numbers tapped. So we hit RSVP numbers in New York right away. So then what did we do? We stopped spending there. Right? And then we were also in New Orleans. That's a market I forgot to mention. That one we struggled a little bit, and I think it was because there was a football game. And then we started spending more in New Orleans. So it gives us the ability to push and pull, whereas you're not just spending to spend and not really getting the ROI that you need.
Absolutely. Essentially, marketing in real time. Bridging across all the different touch points is what we're talking about here, right? Really, our message was supposed to be delivered today in 18 minutes, even though we have 30 minutes available. You know why? Because you don't have attention span more than 18 minutes. So I'm going to stop right here. Questions? Yes, go ahead.
What was the call to action, whether it's like driving to retail or driving to online sales? Was that something?
All the way to the end, right?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, yes.
He asked what the call to action was to drive to retail. So it was combined efforts of working with retailers for POS pre-event. So they were a part of that program pre-event. It's a great question. And then we also geofenced. So we geofenced the area and retail areas that we wanted to target, knowing we were coming in at a certain time, so we could say, okay, this event is on this weekend. Let's promote geofence the week before, a couple weeks before, at those retailers, because that's a great thing. You can literally map around the areas, and then the hope is, the end goal is that, oh, I was in the store, and then I happened to walk by the activation, and now I'm like, okay, now I'm buying this product, right? And that conversion can happen at any piece. It could be I went to the event and then I saw it at retail. So it could happen at any point.
Suraj, first of all, I'm offended. You don't remember me, Nelson, from Group M?
Of course.
There we go.
Before you say
That
anything.
felt awkward.
No, before you say anything, I didn't recognize you because it's been a few years.
It's been a few years.
And
Maybe a
you're-
few more
and you're-
pounds. You're not
and-
trying to be
and-
offensive. I get it.
And the beards,
But-
and the beards. By the way, but I want the community to know, this man has helped us a lot. When he was at Group M, he brought us in, he got us exposed to the whole multicultural dimension through the Unilever account and so forth. I can't be more thankful for you.
No problem at all.
Thank
hey,
you.
Oh, Jesus. This wasn't for that. Appreciate it. My question is, a lot of the functionality could be addressed via AI. Is there a plan to put AI in place for some of those decision makings, parameters, and so on?
Yeah, as always, you're ahead of us, my friend. Almost everything that's in here behind the scenes in terms of modifying in real time, algorithmically establishing where you're getting more engagement, where you're getting more people following through, all of these things you see, multiple creatives here, these are all being live tested, essentially, right? What is called A/B testing, this line you see, what is called the optimal path, it's all established by the algorithm across the entire collection of touch points, right? So there's channels, there is frequency, there's audiences, there is sequence, all of that is playing out all at the same time, right? This is fascinating. What
I think you bring up a good question, which, because I joke all the time, like, everybody has a different definition of what AI is, right? Like I just did a talk with Virgin Voyages, and we talked about Gen AI. Do you guys know their campaign with Jennifer Lopez? I'm not getting a lot of, yeah. And and it's a bot, right? I mean, it's essentially a chat bot, but then they do find commonalities and it becomes AI, right? And I think you were talking about 9 Excel sheets. It's the same thing, right? You're not literally having to have 9 Excel sheets where you're analyzing, condensing, and then figuring out commonalities. That's being done digitally, like via AI online now, right? So that's, I think.
That's the idea. But Nelson, you had more. You had more, right? Was that the only question?
Well, no, I mean, there's a lot. There's beyond the generative AI, which allows for personalization. There's also problem-solving AI, right?
Yes.
Where
yes,
if you are able to capture the variability of solutions, and it can learn on its own and find solutions for you.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So I was just wondering if that was part of the whole structure as well. Because
You
again,
know,
I'm not trying to say that I want AI to take our jobs, but let's just be real. It's going to take some places, some jobs.
yeah, but this is the thing. What I wanted to ask you, Gabby, right? Having worked so closely with her team and our teams, there is so much more to having really successful, compelling programs, right? Just talk about what your team really does. Say something about it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, that it's being done, like when they took the full screen and then you narrow it down, that's for us the problem solving of, because we have, let's say we're even like, oh, we have 10 markets, like where should we go? And you can take historical data to then make decisions for the future, right? And that's what we're creating, is that historical data of we already have those problems solved. So instead of going and saying, oh, I don't know how much to spend, it's like, well, we already did that, so we can base this off of that, and this is the target that works the best, right? But to your point, I think experiential in person is what's really gonna lead and only gonna continue to grow. And we, as that continues to grow and people's demand to be in person, demand to be at concerts, demand to be at soccer matches. I mean, I live in South Florida and Messi is out of control. I mean, these people, white people, are like going crazy, and I'm like, what's happening? Like, why, and everybody's like, oh, my son's doing soccer. I'm like, what? Like, he was like in karate, and he's like, but he loves Messi, But, and that's that world. And then women in sports, I mean, that's a huge space, and it's all in person. And the magic happens when we combine digital. And we talked about this, I think a big hurdle, and for those of you client side, I don't know how many of you are you client side here? If you want to raise your hands. Okay, yeah, they're like, yeah. How many of you are non-client side? Yeah, I'm like, how many of you are non-client side? But it's a struggle, because on the non-client side, we work with the experiential team. So what does that mean? We're competing with digital budgets, media budgets, and then we don't get to even build an integrated program half the time because everybody's working within their own siloed departments, and we're not able to build this from inception. And that's where I think that there's a lot of low-hanging fruit is, okay, you already have influencers you're paying for. Why aren't we thinking about integrating them into our program from the beginning? You already have digital buys. Why isn't that being integrated from the start? So that's, I think, a piece that we're always trying to solve for, and we come together is try to bring our clients together, is let's combine budgets for, and to really deliver on a successful integrated program.
It's just not possible to just isolate channels anymore. It's impossible, guys. You know that. You already know that. You already knew it. That's the reason why we complained about fragmentation so much, right? And so, given budgets are siloed, even agencies are different and so forth, right? What's the point? Let's solve the problem and get the most out of the investments, right? And that's what this whole integrative framework is all about. Bring it together. Make it measurable so that it is all connected. The consumer doesn't care whether you are siloed, different departments or whatnot. They want one consistent experience across every interaction and touch point you have, right? And that's really the power of all of this thing. That's what brought us together. We were at that conference. I'm talking about one thing. She's talking about something else. Says, Gabby, what's the problem here? Unless we work together and figure something out. And we actually went after several clients. And we have programs in the market right now. It's crazy. It's not that hard. Clients are smart. They see through it. They know when they see something good. And that's where we are headed at this point. Any other questions, guys? We have maybe a minute, right, Marcos? What is it? Minute? Yeah. Everybody good? Makes sense? Thank you so much. You are a generous audience.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Gabi, Seraj, and Mike. I think this interaction we just had shows that this is really a great audience and that we have the best people in here. Not only in the room, but also virtually. The speakers, but also the participants. Some of them are old friends and now are greeting each other. which is okay. I want to introduce our next topic, healthcare marketing in multicultural America, a very important topic right now actually in New York City, where we have this immigration situation, and who better to ask good questions than Augusto Romano, CEO of Digo. Augusto, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Marcos. Hello, good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. A very important subject. I do have to talk a little bit about Digo. For those of you out there that doesn't know who we are a publisher owned and operated network that started with a strategic alliance from the two biggest media groups in the Caribbean. One from Puerto Rico, it's GFR Media, and the other one from the Dominican Republic. So the reason why we started this company, in short, is that, as you all know, the Dominican diaspora, the Puerto Rican diaspora is huge here in the US, especially in the Northeast, especially in New York. So, we needed to come here and start this. And being publishers ourselves, it was very easy for us to gain access to other publisher groups and tell them about the experience that we have. I think that I took the presentation of the screen. Check it out. There we go. No. There we go. Thank you, Marcus. Got it. All right. Thank you. Sorry for that. All right. So making a long story short, Digo is now operating a relationship with 55 media groups all over Latin America and Spain. We are now capable of reaching over 30 million Hispanics in the US. They're mostly Spanish dominant and biculturals. And, this group of Hispanic is very, very underserved right now. And the topic that we're going to discuss with Mercedes, which I'll introduce now, it's very, very key to these solutions that we need to find in order for brands to connect with this Hispanic population. So with this reach and the groups of media companies that are being part of Digo now, I think we are capable of connecting brands in a way that is engaging, relevant, and definitely a way to connect on a level that is very significant to them. Because part of Digo in the Dominican Republic is Listín Diario, which is a newspaper that is over 130 years. So it's been in the life of Dominicans all over. Like we can also mention Vanguardia from Barcelona. Vanguardia is over 145 years. So, it's not just media, it's media and the way they connect and engage with people. And the country of origin is a significant key to connect in a memorable way. So I wanted to narrow down what is the reach that Digo has in the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, the reach and the population, but also we wanted to know, like, people that within our publisher network, understanding the signals of their interactions with content, what are the different groups that we can reach for the healthcare industry, and insurance companies could leverage these segments. So we have senior insurance seekers, decision makers in HR, family insurance, and we can reach over 1.2 million in the tri-state area. So with that, I don't want to go any further on the Digo side, so I will invite Mercedes Rodriguez Bermejo to come join me and have this conversation. Mercedes, thank you for coming. Sit here. Yeah. So, welcome, Mercedes.
Hey.
Got it?
No. Hey. Hello.
Yeah, well, hello. There we go.
No, okay. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mercedes. Thank you. So, well, Mercedes is a professional that has been in the multicultural industry for several years. She's originally from Spain, has worked in several health care companies, but it's been 3 years with Emblem Health as a multicultural lead. And I think this is a very important conversation that we're going to have for both us and the audience here and abroad.
Yes, health in any multicultural, for everybody, health is the first thing. Without health, there is nothing. And in Latin cultures, we have la salud, yeah? The salud, dinero y amor, and salud is number one. So that is what Emblem Health does. We have been in the market, in the New York market, for more than 80 years, offering health insurance to low-income families, households, working with governmental programs with the city of New York and with the state of New York, trying to bring those services and to the low-income families. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let's get right into it. You know, when it comes to the multicultural audiences of the target from Emblem Health, tell us about them. Who are they, really?
Well, in New York, the multicultural landscape is constantly changing, right? This is a constant flow in and out, and that's the beauty of it, because it always keeps you on the toes. And talking about experiential and being on the market, Gabriela, this is it here. You have to be out there all the time. So right now, obviously, Hispanics are the major multicultural community, but to your knowledge, probably you know, Dominicans have come to number one, and Puerto Ricans, close to Puerto Ricans, but now they are on top of the numbers of Hispanics in New York City. And then we have Chinese community is very big. Now we had a big influx of Chinese as well. And in the third position, we have like a mix of different cultures, but I will say that it's like a Caribbean origin countries, different ethnicities coming from the Caribbean. And then we can say that 70% of the Hispanics of New York are Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Dominicans. And then behind comes Colombians, Ecuadorians, and many other communities. But that will be, in a nutshell, what we are dealing. Of course, then you have the Hindi community, which is very big too, Pakistani. You know, it's New York is a micro world of the world, you know, and that's the beauty, because it's an open city.
We have everything here.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say are the commonalities between all of these different groups in terms of healthcare needs and services?
Well, there is a big need for information. The commonality is that you need to develop trust in order to start the conversation. But that's good for all marketing, of course. But in healthcare is really a basic thing. If you don't start with trust, you don't have anything. And sometimes we forget to address that in our campaigns, and we don't address the issues. For example, when you are talking to an immigrant community, the fear factor, right? So that's, for me, the biggest commonality. I don't go to the doctor. I don't, even if I have insurance, because I live in a multicultural household where even if I am documented, maybe my uncle, my nephew is not. So I have that fear. So we don't do a good job, or as good as we should, bringing that important message to the community that healthcare is private, healthcare is personal, and we protect you. The privacy issue is very big, and we need to address it. And we kind of we tiptoe around, but we don't really address it with our communities. And for that, you have to be very in person. So another commonality is that it is, in order to build trust, you have to be there. You have to be talking directly with them. And that's why in Emblem Health we have these centers. We have 13 centers across the city that are called Emblem Health Neighborhood Care, that are open to everybody, not only to our members, where we offer information, we offer classes, wellness classes, yoga, we offer all kinds of all kinds of information that that people need, and is a way for people to start understanding the importance and of having their health taken care, because especially in the Hispanic community, we only go to the doctor when we are very sick, and big Papa Rab. I don't want to make promotion to anything, but it's a mama's thing, you know. They rub you with something, or una hierbita.
Big Vaporub.
Big Vaporus. So this is what we do, and it's something that it's very ingrained, and this is another commonality, right? Use a la hierbita, use something, you know, so that you can go, because we are here to work, to make a life for our families, and you don't want to waste any time. And sometimes the priority of going to the doctor is not there. So another thing that is a commonality is bringing preventive health to the market. Preventive health, which is not only physical, but is also mental, because health is not just related to the body, it's also related to the mind. So we are very much aware of that at Emblem Health, and when we build our programs, we build it in a more holistic way, in understanding health as a not just a physical factor, right?
So I see that you guys are doing a lot to reach these communities at a very approachable fashion. But you know, there are so many challenges with languages, with level of acculturation, you know, how are you working around these challenges to make sure that all of these programs that you have in place are completely working?
Well, yes, there are many challenges. But the thing is that we try to tackle, we have a program, just to explain a little bit what we are actually doing. We have a program right now called Un Futuro Saludable en Nueva York, that it is developed for people that are arriving, as well as people that are here. And we want to create that feel of aspirational feel, so they start feeling integrated in the community. And to the point of the challenges, the way that we tackle, in order to create this program, we didn't have many budget, as usual. Multicultural is always an afterthought, unfortunately, but it's getting better. In the 35 years that I'm living in New York, I have seen a lot of difference, so this is great. So what we are doing is partner with the community organizations. Partnership is key, and also with the consulates, with all the consulates, and trying by coming together, serving the community, trying to create a program. That's what we did, created a program that works with not just the health needs and information, hitting on preventive health, knowing what you have the right, because in the state of New York, thank God, we have the right to health. This is something that we have to say that unfortunately other states don't have it.
Despite the status.
Despite the status, yeah.
Yeah, very important.
So we are trying to work with the community organizations, with NGOs, and with the consulates, bringing health components, education components, which is very important, and as well job placements and what they need to understand better the New York market in general. So health is, and that's what I meant about mental health, not just when you have a mental health issue, but also to try to deal with all the anxiety and stress that comes from not knowing where you're going to place your kids in the school, not knowing where you are going to, if you're going to have a place to live, or the different, do you not speak well English as well? You know, you need all those little things. Are there are fantastic NGOs that they are my heroes. literally, that are just there for them. So we're trying to be kind of a link, trying to be bring them together.
So your marketing efforts and your media strategy are linked to these initiatives that are being somewhat managed or bridging the relationship with these organizations?
They are partnering with. So basically, our program is it's bringing to the program all these organizations and the consulates, so that way we can have the biggest outreach. One thing that we are doing with these events, obviously the social component is key. Then we are trying to do a lot of outreach social campaigns, and as well bringing any kind of activation, radio activations and things that are really in the moment. And yeah, so with the budgets that we have, we are really maximizing in them that way, you know, and it's really great.
I have one last question. And you being, you know, in your career, had the opportunity to sit in the agency and in the client side.
Mm-hmm.
So for what you're doing now, and you know, you see challenges integrating with these agents, and do you see them working properly, or there's an opportunity there that you understand that could be fixed and to leverage the potential of both sides?
Yeah, I've been in both worlds, and I like both worlds for different reasons. I love the agency because the agency gave you a lot of muscle. You have to be, I work as a strategist at the agency side, so you have to be changing hats constantly, and today you are serving one account, tomorrow you're serving another, and that gives you that agility of mind that is fantastic for everybody, and also the ease of movement that you have in the agency is wonderful. But the client side has a wonderful thing, that is that you see your results. In the client side, besides that you have more resources, obviously, because you are more niche, you are just focusing on one aspect, you really can see the beginning, the end, and the results. And when you get to your consumers and they come to you and they say to you, "Thank you, I was able to vaccinate my kid because you gave me the information," or that campaign that you did, that talk of the doctor that came talking about diabetes, and I realized that I may have to go to get a checkup because my grandmother or my mother had it. So when you see that end point, that grounding point that gives you to be in the client side, that you can really follow the whole from the data, which I always start, data is my best friend, to the end, to see what is the impact that you have. And that was the main reason that I moved to the client side, in a sense that I wanted to be in, and especially with Emblem Health is wonderful because it's an NGO as well, and we work with governmental and with the city and with the state. That gives you the visibility, and also it gives you the opportunity to really get to people's lives and to really, as a marketer, to really make a difference, and somehow, even if it's a little, but you can see it.
Yeah, you can definitely appreciate that when you have that visibility and the impact. It's definitely good. Thank you guys so much for listening to our conversation. It's short, and I don't know, Marcos, if we have something from the audience.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, good morning. New York being 52% based on the census 2020, non-Hispanic white, 48% diverse market. I'll bet that today it's a 50-50 split with all the immigration that's coming, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking that majority is diverse, right? How can you continue challenging your leadership regarding budgets? I feel it too. It happens to all of us, right? As you said, multicultural is an afterthought. But how is it possible that it's an afterthought in your business that's 50% comes from diverse audiences, right? So how can you continue challenging your leadership to make sure that you have the right budgets, to make sure that you reach the right people that you're targeting?
Thankfully, in the years that I'm been with this company and in the years, I have seen the difference year by year. So it is something that we are not there yet, but we are getting there. Things are changing rapidly. Because of that, and especially in a market like New York, in a market like Miami or Houston, or you name it, you know, and even in North Carolina, you know, Charlotte, you're right. So minority becomes majority, and it's taking time. But it's getting there. And now we are seeing very positive change internally. Even in my company, I see very, very positive change of prioritizing products and services that are targeted by these communities, you know, multicultural communities that are really, they are the champions. So hopefully it will be more, and we are trying, and I see how they are listening more, and that's a really, really good change. You know, nothing changed from night to day. You know, there are years of traditional marketing. You know, where we talk about general market. What is general market now? General market is multicultural market, more and more, especially in urban settings. So we things are changing, and that's a positive. I think all of us that we work on multicultural should be very proud and happy for all the efforts that you guys have made to change the landscape, because obviously that comes with a lot of effort. Especially I'm looking here to Leslie, for example, that have been fighting for this. It's a long fight, you know, we have been in a long fight, but finally we are starting to see the changes. So I'm very positive about it.
Thanks, Mercedes. That was Wilson Santiago from Rocket Mortgage who asked the question, and I think there's another question back there. Okay.
So this is a little anecdotal, but I think specific.
Could you identify yourself?
Christian Arango, Pernod Ricard USA. This is a little anecdotal, but I think specific to the work you're doing. Along with being able to inform a lot of these immigrant communities and a lot of people that are arriving here for the first time, we know that the younger generation a lot of times works as the translation barrier when language is there or like these topics, and health can be very daunting for someone younger, someone in school to like be able to speak to this. Have you seen any of your partners, or is there a thread that kind of connects generationally how this information transfers, knowing that sometimes the information is coming bottom up with the younger generations kind of being like, you should check this out, having to go with abuelita to like the doctor and actually explain some of these like very daunting ideas? Has there been anything there or any thought that you've seen work or that you want to try and work on in the future?
Yes, and this is a great question. Thanks so much for asking about this. We know that the younger generations have especially in the healthcare, they are the healthcare brokers. They are the ones that go to the doctor with la abuelita or with the mother and try to bring them on board and translate, because unfortunately, I was talking about a piece of data before that in a community like the Bronx, in the borough of the Bronx in New York, you have 10% only of Hispanic-speaking doctors or providers, and in a community which is 60% Hispanic. Spanish-speaking, not Hispanic, Spanish-speaking. So it's crazy, right? You will say we need to do not just at the level of being brokers of their family, but encourage these kids to get into the healthcare industry, because we have a lack of healthcare providers that we need that speak the languages, and right now we are not there. In our events and in our activations, we also talk to Dominican organizations here in the city, youth organizations. We have had preventive healthcare for them because it's very important too, also for the youth. But we understand what big burden for them is to know that the health of your family depends on you. So we want to address that. We wanted to empower them, not just at the level of bringing not make them feel responsible, but also empower them to really not give up on their aspirations, which is something that we have been seeing a lot, that because there are so many difficulties, sometimes they just don't want to pursue it. So in the events, we definitely address them. We talk to them, to the adolescent community as well, high schoolers. We had this fantastic event on Sunday at La Voz de Dios, which is an evangelical church in Brooklyn, where there were a big adolescent population, and we were talking about education as well as health. What are the path for education, and what all those NGOs that help them to understand better the system. So, yeah, the language barrier is there. They are still managing them, but it's going to, more than focusing on the language barrier, what we need to focus is empowering them to be able to access to those places.
Hi, I'm Dan Johnson. I'm the Director of Segment Marketing at Altice. We manage the Optimum brand. Returning to this gentleman's earlier question about how do you get that champion in your client-side organization to adopt and see the value in speaking directly to these multicultural audiences, Hispanic audiences. How many times do you have to hit them in the head with data points, with purchasing power, with elevated levels of education? It's like, is it a daily grind? I've been doing it for 8 years. I need to know there's hope.
I hear you. You want a magic potion. Well, yeah, I hear you. I understand. To me, it's offering results with what you have. I am I'm so used to work with what we have, what I have, and trying to showcase clearly among my organization what we have accomplished. And I think that's the best way to me, not focusing so much on big data points, national data. No, just go to start small and start with small, but with offering results, that they can tangible results that they can see, and that's what has been working for me always.
I just wanted to add to that because I do a lot of work with LBAN. I don't know if people know LBAN. It's a great organization, and I work with Arturo, who runs the organization, and it's representation. We don't have Latinos in executive roles, and that's, I think, but what we talk a lot about, Arturo and I, is that's changing. So as we all get more position in executive roles and minorities in general, things are going to change. I think that's where we're going to see people as opposed to who don't understand or don't care to understand. I think that's where hopefully we're going to start to see changes in decision making and more money to the right places.
I completely agreeing with you. Actually, I want to give a big applause also to NATHAL, which is the National Association of Latinos Healthcare Executives, that are really doing all that they can to really empower more and more people in the health level, because we can. That's the only way. Absolutely, you need a friendly ear in order to get some results as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Now we're going to enjoy lunch, and our virtual audience is going to go, please, to their one-on-one meetings. Please log in to your Vimeo. Log in to your Vimeo. Sorry, you just were in your Vimeo and log in to your Zoom accounts that are specified in your itinerary. Okay, for your virtual one-on-one meetings, log into your Zoom accounts as you can see in your itinerary. Thank you. ¿Cómo?